We always joke and say the UFS is the heartbeat of the country. Well, maybe it is. But we really want to look at building that brand and unlocking opportunities that translate beyond just the UFS, but into the broader context of South Africa and possibly internationally. So what we've done in this is externally we've shared perspectives and continue to share perspectives in different environments. And I think that is what the challenge should be for yourselves. Whether you're a curriculum designer, developer, whether you are a lecturer, whether you're an academic advisor, get involved in these spaces, because that is what gives you or introduces you to the notion of how you can scale what you're already doing. You might be doing it for a small subset of students in a specific program that enables the engagements, enable you to network and possibly collaborate in bigger spaces. In terms of what we've done internally in terms of scaling our practices, is we've taken from what we call student engagement surveys. We've taken over 20 years of lessons to help us design responsive and what we call high impact practices. So our HIPS is really what we've been intentional in designing and continuously expanding so that it is responsive to many of our, if not all our students. So our first scaled high impact practice is our first year seminar. This program comes from the days when Prof. Jonathan Young was our vice chancellor and principal, where he said, we need to challenge the first years. We need to ask them the big questions that are beyond the immediate scope of the program. And we developed this first year seminar, and we started asking general big questions. We asked about history, we asked about science, we asked about astrophysics, and we wanted to challenge them beyond just thinking as a health sciences student, as a humanities student. We wanted them to create a global awareness and a global voice for themselves as individuals. And that has translated into what we call now first year seminar. And that first year seminar offered to all our first year students, and it is a compulsory year module. In that module, we offer students skills. We're not professing that those skills address everything, but it's transitional skills that prepare them for the journey they're about to embark. So our first year seminar is one of our unlocking factors of creating access, support, and transitional support and success opportunities for the students. But what we've also done through our first year seminar, we've started skilling what we term our future academics. So we employ about 60 teaching assistants who facilitate small group settings. So we're not only capacitating our first years, but we're also capacitating our senior students to becoming more employable and possibly becoming those future academics we aspire to have in our institutions. Our second high impact practice that we have intentionally scaled is our tutorial program. We're not an SI unique institution, but we're a blend of SI traditional tutorials. And in our academic student tutorial and excellence program, we employ about 350 students that are from in their second year of study all the way to postgraduate studies. And they serve as tutors to around 170 of our modules in ensuring that one, fellow students are supported, but two, they are also acquiring the skills, the knowledge, the competencies that can yield them the opportunities of being future academics or otherwise then other types of entrepreneurs and employers. Many of our tutors have translated into being junior lecturers, but others have also become entrepreneurs where they've graduated and now designed tutorial offerings where it's generating income for them. So for us, scaling a high impact practice like our tutorial program has not been beneficial only for our students, but it's also been beneficial for the global brand and unlocking economic opportunities. Our third high impact practice is academic advising. This has come now since about 2010, where academic advising started being in practice in South Africa, where it was intentionally focusing on students. And I actually want to interlock it with the last bullet, which is GPS and GFS. We started looking at, okay, our students are not progressing because they registered for 180 credits. And we know the traditional norm is about 120, 160 credits. We started tapping into that. But what that has yielded into is exactly what Dr. Masawa spoke about. We started then leveraging the data of students telling us that I'm registered for 180 credits because I need to finish next year, because my sibling is coming to varsity, or I need to start working. So what we then started doing is we started leveraging all of that knowledge, all of that data in designing proactive and to a great extent predictive and prescriptive efforts in what we do. And that is what has informed the development of what we call GPS and UFS. And that is our graduate positioning support at UFS program. And this is a student-facing contact center where we employ, where we track firstly academic behaviors of students, and then we have a first line of support in the form of interns who then pick up the phone and have individual conversations with the students. Because in our advising interventions, we were always doing the scaled responsive support. But we realized that the scaled is not necessarily the most optimal and most opportune way of supporting students. So we started designing and incorporating personalized support. And that's why the success coaches have individual conversations, because it is from those conversations that they can then screen the student, understand what the challenge is, and refer them to the appropriate supports. And this for us has enabled us to have alternative means of support and capacity interventions from our student counseling unit, from our academic advising office, because we don't have, and we will never have, enough counselors or academic advisors. So the innovation has enabled collaboration and responsive designs in various areas in how we respond to our students. And our last high impact practice that we've scaled is our academic language and literacy support. Similar to the notion of students don't come in with the requisite mathematics, science, physics subjects, we've also at the UFS reflected that our students don't have the requisite language competency. And for us, the development of the critical academic literacies courses are also a compulsory first-year program in supporting and staggering the language development for your specific field. Has enabled how we design innovatively but also responsively for our students. Because our students, you'd imagine that we're in the Free State, our students are Sesotho speaking. Our students we have predominantly isiZulu speaking students. So in whether we choose to be trilingual in English, Afrikaans, and Sesotho, those three languages are not the prevalent languages in our space, and that's why we've introduced something as the critical academic literacies, that it introduces them to the academic literacy for the humanities, for the sciences, for theology and religion, for law, so that the student has that opportunity to switch. And what we've also integrated is we've got an academy for multilingualism, and that's where we introduce trans-languaging and then zoom into the languages of isiZulu and isiSotho in our spaces, because then that enables greater engagement and greater learning, but that is also done at a tutorial level. So in our design, we've really considered the students, and we've reflected a lot on our data to understand our students and ensure that in our scaling, we're also responsive to the student needs. A second pillar that I propose in designing innovative and inclusive practices in our space is mutual investment for mutual benefit. And for us, that is really meant engaging externally. So things like being involved in Siyaphumelela spaces, our senior leadership being involved in USAF collaborations. We've also worked with the Mike and Susan Dahl Foundation and other grants that have enabled us to put in our knowledge and then to put in the financial investment, which is translated into mutual benefit, because we're getting our graduates, we're designing for our graduates to cross the finish line much quicker or more efficiently or effectively. But it's also opened up a voice of developing highly competent and diverse graduates in our space. In terms of internally what this has meant for us, it's meant we work more and rigorously with our IR, our Institutional Research Office. They are the custodians of the data. They are the knowers of the data. And for them, they've helped translate their data for us so that we can then responsively design into that. We've also had engagements with our senior leadership where they've focused on evidence in their decision making, which has then informed how things have translated. We've actually been intentional in improving how a tutorial program has an impact in the students reaching graduation. We've designed impact reports that look at how our first year seminar contributes to students graduating in minimum time. We've looked at how having targeted, individualized support translates into students graduating in minimum time. And what we've said to our senior leadership is investing in these practices has mutual benefit because it optimizes your subsidy. We've also had students employed all across our institution. We have different programs, we have internships, we've got student assistantships, we've got assistant researchers, we've got research assistants, we've got interns. We've ensured that in our internal design, we make the space also beneficial for our registered students, whether they're undergraduate or postgraduate level. We've ensured that they also see the benefit of being a student and how that translates into the recruitability, also known as employability. The third pillar, is around teaching and learning and how it should be facilitated and student-centered. And this really just talks about moving away from being transactional and prescriptive, but also now moving into transdisciplinarity, immersive, transformative, and creating the agenda that creates opportunities for students. And what we've done at the UFS is we've adopted what we call this equitable course design. And it has actually informed our curriculum renewal program, which some of the colleagues probably in this room have participated in. And our curriculum renewal program is actually intended for our lecturers, but it's also now brought in student affairs colleagues to think about how are they designing their practices, their co-curricular practices, the attributes they are trying to achieve. What is their design? How do they assess their impact? So we're really looking at context, transparency, accessibility, belonging, and discipline, because those are the 5 things we've identified are the pillars that inform or should inform our curricula in designing what is future fit. For us, we need to look at these 5 dimensions. And I want to pause here and actually play